And I was like, wow, all these bicycles are so beautiful. And I was asking my friend, how much did that one cost? And he's like, oh, that one's 20,000. I was like, what about this one? And it's like 15,000. I was like, you mean people spend so much money on bicycles? And then he was like, so how much is yours? I was like, oh, $300.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, another podcast. I'm not sure if you guys prefer longer content or you like the short ones. From the previous video, it was a mix of reactions. Some of you enjoy the longer content because you would like to know the story behind the rider, and some of you say it's too long. But today's video, it's back to the older podcast. Podcast was filmed some time ago, but recently I only had the time to edit this video and to publish out to you. In this video, I'm interviewing Tim. He has this bike which is called a Ku Cycle, and it's a TF1 model. So Ku Cycle is a Dutch-based company founded by entrepreneur Alex and a Formula 1 engineer by the name of Richard. And the name Ku is actually derived from a Japanese word which means craftsmanship or artistry. So this frame, the TF1, was actually launched in 2020, and it represents a significant leap, according to them, in triathlon bike engineering. Interestingly, the TF1 features a very distinctive high fork and a head tube positioned between the rider's arms, so effectively this reduces air resistance and it obviously enhances speed. Lastly, I would like to thank all my Patreon members who are subscribed to my Patreon and supporting my channel. I'm going to give all of you a shout out. Red White Apparel, Alistair, Josh H, YG, Drew, Jeremy, Adrian, Chris Chen, Kay Chen, Lumatran, Vaughn, Daniel, Yok Ping, and KMY. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. If you guys would like to support me on Patreon, do hit the Patreon link below. Any contribution amount helps the channel sustain and we'll get more interviews. So thank you very much. Enjoy the episode. Want to sing?
I'm a clown.
Are you ready, Tim?
I am ready.
Okay, I think we're peaking, but we are rolling. Tim, welcome to the Oompa Loompa podcast or show.
Thank you for having me.
We took a very long time to plan this. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Was it like a good 6 months?
Possibly about 6-7 months.
And Tim was like, hi Oompa Loompa, I just want to check, are we still on for the shoot?
I was like, are you still around, still alive? I see your podcast, still going. Have you forgotten me?
those videos were filmed almost a year ago.
Okay, so we'll just wait for a year for this to come out then.
I hope not too long. Anyway, welcome again. We've got a very interesting bike. I'm so sorry that the shoot got delayed. This is a Ku Cycle, a Dutch brand. Again, can I get to know you a little bit more? Can the audience get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. This is like a Tinder profile for cyclists, right? No, so I'm Tim, obviously. Background, I've always been in sports itself, right? So from a very young age, at the age of 12, I was playing in like the under 12 for football, like at Tanjong Pagar, then progressed to in the Prime League S League for Gombak United. So that has always been my background, right? Then why cycling or why triathlon for myself was I was doing a marathon and I was like, yes, I did a damn good timing. And my friend was like, dude, marathons are for bleep, right? It's like, I was like, what do you mean? Have you checked this out called an Ironman? And then I went, back then, whatever Google was, I was like, Ironman, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, I need to, pardon the pun, but I need to try this out, right? So then I did one and that led me to sign up for one. I was like, hey, since you told me about it, you got to do it with me, right? Then here we are.
When was this, by the way? When was this whole S League, football and everything, when did this all happen?
For the S League portion was before Army, so that was like in 2010, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
2010, before I went to uni and such. For the triathlon, the start of this journey was sometime in 2017, if memory serves me right. Yeah. The first bike, if I can put it that way, it was bought off Carousel, right, for $300. Didn't know what I was doing. I needed a bicycle. I knew I needed a bicycle. I needed running shoes, and that's all I had. I didn't have padded pants for cycling. I didn't have proper cleats. I knew I needed helmet for safety, right? Yeah. So the first ever race I did was in Desaru, the 113 triathlon. And I was on the bike wearing football shorts. And as you would expect for a 90 km cycle, I ripped myself a new one. Yeah. Yeah, it was a very painful process. And then having to do a half marathon after that, I was like, man.
In that same shorts.
In the same shorts.
Okay.
Yes, in the same shorts. And then wearing running Nike Freeze. That time was the in running shoes. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm doing this ever again. And then I've now completed, I think, over 10 half Ironmans and 2 full Ironmans.
Whoa, okay. I don't normally interview triathletes, mainly because that's not my forte. So you got to educate me a little bit more about your bike later on and how things work. So when you were starting to get into triathlon, you knew you obviously needed a bike. You just went onto Carousel. What was the search term?
Oh, the cheapest one available. Cheapest one available and the most convenient to collect.
Something that can just do the job.
Yes, correct. So I remember because, the journey to Desaru, most of us would either drive or take the ferry, right? So I was at the ferry terminal and I was like, wow, all these bicycles are so beautiful. And I was asking my friend, how much did that one cost? And he's like, oh, that one's 20,000. I was like, what about this one? And it's like 15,000. I was like, you mean people spend so much money on bicycles? And then he was like, so how much is yours? I was like, oh, $300.
You should know though, after looking at it.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things where I never knew whether I would be interested. So I just wanted something that was purely functional, right? That, okay, I know I needed a bicycle, right? So I just got a bicycle. Okay, tick. Okay. Cycle 90 km. Yes, this does the job. So I never knew about changing gear, carbon, aluminum frame or whatever. Bicycle is a bicycle.
Right. Okay. And then how did you know, or what was the first triathlon bike?
The first tri bike that I had was after a couple of years, and I got a Shiv, S-Works Shiv TT itself. Okay. So I think that it was a secondhand purchase again from Carousel. Carousel seems to be my best friend for bicycles, but
Carousel sponsor me, please.
Okay, Carousel, please. Thanks. Me too. We're all about the Me Too movement here. But yeah, so it was one of those things where you search online and friends being friends, right? After the first bike, they were like, I think you need a new bike, right? And then when you get your new bike, they're like, oh, N+1. And I was like, what is N+1? So N is the number of bikes that you have, and then you need another one, right? And I'm like, I don't earn that much money. And then you see a lot of people just, I guess, trade their bicycles. They sell off one bike and then they buy the next one. So the Shift did well for me. It did a lot of my tri races. And then as I got more serious into the sport, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's look at what tech has brought us, right? Because that was a rim brake, and now technology has moved to the disc brake itself. And that's when people are like, oh yeah, if you get a disc brakes, you save this amount of watts. And then you're like, oh really, man? So then the conversation came to, okay, you know what? Talking to people, friends, even my coach, they're also all saying, yes, it could be a sunset, right? For rim brakes. So as parts and I guess with COVID happening and everything, shipment for certain parts and all that, and that kind of clicked within me to say, you know what, maybe you should get something more updated already. Yeah,
so that's when you got this one.
That's when I got this one, and I didn't go on Carousel for this one. So
you can't even get this on Carousel.
Yeah, you can't, unfortunately. Until, well, I guess even if I listed this, I don't think anybody could purchase it, or not could purchase it, but might not be a good fit in that sense. Why I say that is because this bike that I have, it's actually custom built to my body frame itself. So yeah.
I got to know you through Chris when I interviewed him. Chris runs Secret Training here in Singapore.
Yes.
Plug Secret Training.
Yes. Please sponsor us. Thank you.
So then Chris was telling me, hey, you should interview this guy by the name of Tim. He has this triathlon bike called a Ku Cycle. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then he showed me a picture. I was like, okay, this is some weird shit going on. Yeah. Because when I looked this up a couple of days ago just to do your research, right? So this is a Dutch brand, and then this model is called TF1. I think you'll explain to me a little bit more about the company and why it's called TF1.
and the color behind this. And just looking at this, it's just so weird looking.
Yeah.
It's like a shrunken, huge bike that just went like that.
Yeah, so the background of this was actually how the founder he wanted to change the way bicycles were bought, right? For I guess in the triathlon space, because ultimately how you and I traditionally go and buy a bicycle is we go down to the shop, we kind of measure inseam and everything, right? Then just pick out the frame that best fits, and then plug to weekend bike fitter. Then come to a bike fitter and then really get all the different components refitted as best to your body shape or size, right? And that's where he thought, okay, you know what? Let's do all that first. Right? Do the fitting, do the measurements, then send them the data, and then they built the bike. So their promise is within 8 weeks, it should reach Singapore itself. So they were very kind. I think my bike took about 6 to 7 weeks to get to Singapore because they rushed it out for a PTO last year.
Who introduced this brand to you?
I actually searched online and then I got in touch and started talking to the distributor in Singapore, which is Singapore Physio. It's with Bevan himself. So you go down to the physio shop, clinic rather, and then they do everything for you.
He fits you and do...
He fits you and...
Is this person a bike fitter or this
Yes,
shop?
he's a bike fitter himself.
Okay.
So it was a very interesting experience because they try to establish the best aero position possible for you, right? I guess with triathlon, aero kind of makes the key difference, right? I'm not saying that you can't do a race in a road bike and such, but I guess if you want to be a bit more competitive, that aero, looking for the extra 1% helps.
Can I safely say or confidently say that this will be much, obviously, I think the answer is yes lah. This will be much faster than getting a aero road bike and slapping on TT bars?
Actually, I don't know. The truth is, okay, I should say yes. The truth is, I should say yes. But the thing is, it's also, I guess, down to the rider as well, right? If you take watts per kilogram for both, I guess, yes, I would say easily this bike should be more aero. The company tested it against, I think, a Cervelo S5, if I remember correctly, and this is a lot faster than that.
This is more of a process of buying this bike. It's the other way around, where you get bike fitted first, send the data over to the company, and then they build the bike. Just like all these other boutique brands, like for road bikes anyway, Bastion, Prova, Passoni, whatever. And so why did you want a custom-made bike? Or was the Shiv TT already very telling for you that, okay, I can't just get a conventional bike off the shelf?
I think a bit of a few things that played in my mind, because I'm a firm believer that if you can afford something, you should buy the best that your money can afford for it, right? So if you look across the spectrum of all the top range of bikes, based on that price range, why not do something where you could custom build it specifically for you, right? Then, okay, let's say you buy X brand because you like the brand, you like the colorway. Then you take the frame, you take the wheel set, you take everything, and then realize, oh yeah, I need to adjust this, and then you kind of then pay more, right? then try to adjust it accordingly to what you want to achieve. Whereas this one, you take the guesswork kind of out of the process. You get everything all sorted. You send the data, come back. You do a secondary fit just to make sure the geometry and everything is correct. Then Bob's your uncle.
Then the next question that I have is having a custom-made frame, right? So you've done the fitting already. It comes to your doorstep. You got the bike. Do you then need to do another bike fit again? Yes.
Okay. So the process is you do an initial bike fit for all the data. Then you send it off to the Netherlands. They produce the bike. The bike comes back to Singapore. You get onto the bike and then you just fine tune. So I think my second bike fit with the company was 15 minutes just to make sure everything's looking good. Yeah, you're not overstretching and such. So yeah.
Okay, so you still need to do another bike fit.
Just a simple bike fit, but there's no changing of parts, no changing of like the stem or the height and such. Yeah. That's all already established.
Can you tell me a bit more of this company, Ku Cycle?
Well, the Dutch company itself, interestingly, the founder used to be in Singapore for quite some time. So he's familiar with the Singapore setup. He and his co-founder The co-founder is actually an engineer, or previously an engineer with the Ferrari F1 team. So if you look at how the bike is set up, it kind of looks like an F1 car compressed.
It looks like a bicycle to me.
It is a bicycle, but in certain ways, the aerodynamism from an F1 car is incorporated into it. You look at the fork, the stem, and even the cockpit itself, right? So I guess how they are trying to achieve aerodynamism for the triathlon world, it's looking at a different aspect itself. This bike brand actually last year won the 70.3 Ironman World Championships. So the athlete was Rico Bogan. So that was interesting because he was like a wild card in that itself. So he won that. So they're very happy, I suppose.
Right. And this is the only model they have?
Yes, this is the only model they have.
Okay.
So,
How much are we looking at?
discreetly between the both of us and now the whole world. It's
Wait, can we talk about it?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Including shipping, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was what, 17.5.
Okay.
Sing. Yeah.
Okay. And run us through the components.
So everything is custom built. The frame, the handlebar for the tri portion is from Zip. Then you have the SRAM Force. The wheels are also from there. The front wheels are about 60 m drop, and then the rear is 80 at the back. But in terms of the funky color, conversation with the CEO or the founder, he allowed us to play with a couple of combination and really just choose on how you want to blend certain colorways together. So I like a very boring black finish.
And it's matte, right?
And it's matte. And then my previous bike for the S-Works, right, was like the shiny blue, in certain lights it's purplish and then blue in different lighting. So I want to keep that homage to the first serious TT bike I had. And so this colorway, which is a bit purplish and blue, it's called Space Berry, and then gold decals.
How do you you have this color in mind, but how do you convey that to them? Like, do you sketch it out, or do you get have samples?
So we convey it via, they have a designer, and then you pick out the different color palettes itself on. They send you a list of color palettes, and then they blend it together and show you a sample. Are you happy with this sample, or do you want to change it up? So there are some very funky ones where one looked like a yellow jacket insect or like a bumblebee, if I can call it, where it's just straight yellow, black, kind of like a zebra crossing, like you ask me sometimes. But yeah, that kind of things that I guess with a customized or custom built bike, you could play around with a lot of different patterns and colors itself.
You're the only one in Singapore with this bike.
From what I know, yes, this is the one and only one in Singapore. Hopefully we have more.
Don't you want to be the special one?
I guess part of me would like that, but part of me also thinks that, if this brand goes popular, then being the first is not too bad, right?
Yeah, right. Okay. Performance. Oh, how heavy are these kind of bikes?
It's quite heavy. I think this is north of 9 kg all in.
Okay.
Minus the rider.
Okay. And this is just like standard road SRAM Force,
Yes.
right? Why SRAM Force?
I had a bad experience with Shimano.
Oh, why?
I was racing on a Shimano in Desaru last year, and the crank broke. And I think it's now common knowledge.
The is it Dura Ace, the older one, right?
The older one. So yeah lah.
Oh wow! So like you're pedaling halfway.
Halfway during the race, about the 70 km mark, the crank broke, and then DNF lah. But
do you do anything about that? Do you go back to Shimano like, bro, I was racing and your crank split
I did,
into
but
half?
they didn't respond. And then earlier, not last year, the year before. So then last year they made a worldwide announcement, right? That there are certain issues with it. I'm like, too late.
Damn. So now you're on SRAM.
Yeah.
Okay. For the triathletes out there, they probably want to know what's so special about this bike and how does it perform.
I think in terms of performance, I have no qualms that it's a fast bike, right? When it's down on the straight and when you really put pedal to the metal itself and you really go for it.
Pedal to the carbon.
Yeah, or carbon in this case. Performance wise, I love it. The only cannot be so biased, right?
Come on, give us the juicy stuff.
I think that the downside is the turning radius, right? Because it's if you look at where the head, the cockpit is, it doesn't really turn as much as a normal bike itself.
But you don't need to turn so much, right?
There's a certain U-turn somewhere
Oh, the
during the
U-turns.
race,
So
right?
you need to take like a
you
very
need to
big
take a wider turn and kind of keep your elbows more locked in.
And what's the reason for that? Like, why isn't there?
From what the company is saying, it's really just to keep as aero as possible. Everything's all about aerodynamics for the company.
So on your shift, you could turn. You had a bigger radius to turn.
I had a bigger radius, but you ask me, okay, I'm not top tier athlete. I'm not competing for the top 1%, right? It doesn't really matter to me.
So as a triathlete yourself, which is your stronghold in discipline? Running, cycling?
I think
swimming?
between the three discipline, running would be my favorite discipline, right? Purely because of the background of football. So I'm very accustomed to running, and I used to do marathons. So running has always been a happier sport for me. But I'm enjoying cycling more these days.
Yeah.
But as with what's conditions on the roads, we have to wake up really early on the weekend.
Will you ever consider going into road biking? Like getting a proper road bike?
I've been asked many times to buy a road bike so we can go for social rides. But
Can't bring this to the Kopi, man.
you can't bring this to the Kopi. Like
Yeah.
somebody will jump on it and ride away. But I'm considering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're gonna ask which brand, Kenyan, would you want to
Kenyan.
sponsor one?
Is it because Chris is on the Canyon?
No, not really. But Kenyan, please, thanks.
These big companies, they don't watch my videos lah. So
Never mind, we'll try to get them. We'll try to get them to watch. Kenyan, please watch.
okay. Anything else that you would like to highlight before I move on to some questions online?
No, I think in terms of this bike itself, it's custom built for the person itself to achieve as aero a position or aerodynamically as efficient as possible. Yeah.
What tires again? These are Ku Cycle wheels, but the tires are is it Conti?
Continental. Yeah.
GP 5000 or sorry, I can't really see.
Yeah, GP 5000.
Okay, cool. Tubeless, right?
Yes, tubeless.
Okay. Are you ready for the questions, man?
I hope so.
Okay, the first question, is this bike easy to travel with?
Yes. Basically for this bike, if you have a bike box, I just remove the front and rear wheels, put it to the side, and we're good to go. I don't even have to take the cockpit out.
What bike bag are you using?
What is it called? The bike box Allen.
Bike box Allen?
Yeah.
That's like the hard case, right?
The hard case. Yeah.
Okay.
I swear by hard cases.
Have you had bad experiences with the softer case?
Every time you see the baggage being handled, and then
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, oh, that's my bike bag. The sim tia lah.
Okay. The next question is, which part of the bike is actually custom made, or is the entire frame custom?
The entire frame.
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And it only takes them, 8 weeks?
8 weeks.
That's really fast, actually.
It is very fast.
Like for road bikes, I have heard of people waiting for 1-2 years for a custom made bike.
Yeah, it's really fast.
Okay. What's the difference, or what are the differences between this bike and a UCI legal one?
Oh, this is definitely not UCI legal at all.
I think the guy was trying to say, I think the UCI legal ones are like TT bikes. These
Yeah.
are triathlon bikes, which is not regulated by UCI, right?
Yeah, so this is totally unregulated. So
Yeah.
I
That's why it looks like this.
Yeah, that's why they can do whatever they want with regards to specifications lah.
Okay. How's it like handling crosswinds?
Not too bad actually. I guess also because I'm on the heavier side. But in terms of crosswinds and headwinds, because of aerodynamics and how it's structured, it's not as bad as I think other bikes. Then again, I've only had like 3 bikes, so
Yeah.
not a very fair comparison to answer this question itself lah.
Do you need to practice your position on the bike?
Yes. So for triathlon, I think one of the things is being in the aero position, right? That initially, when I first moved from a basic $300 bike to a tri bike, it was a very funky move, right? Because we are very used to holding the bull horn, and then to go.
Oh, it's called bullhorn.
Or at least that's what I call it. And then when you go into the aero position, it's weird because initially it felt very unstable, and then after a while you get used to it.
And do you get tired? Do you need to go home and like practice planking and
No, actually, I just
strengthen your core?
I guess at the end of the day, it's just practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah.
So constantly forcing yourself to be in that position while you're riding, it's I guess enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you earlier. Sorry, I kind of forgot what I asked. when I think of it, I'll ask you.
And we continue.
Okay, what's the next one? For 17,000, there are so many choices for a tri bike. Why would you choose this one, which is the most odd looking one?
I guess the uniqueness, right? I can then say this is my bike, right? It's the only one. It's custom built. At the end of the day, for me, that custom builtness, specifically for me, in that sense, very selfish. It's mine.
Okay. I don't know if you know the answer to this one. But he said, what's the meaning of Ku?
No, okay. Then, let me find out and then I'll let you know on that.
Okay. I don't know why this guy asked this question, but how easy is it to source for TT group sets these days? Is it hard to source for TT group sets? This is just a standard SRAM.
It's quite a standard.
There's no specific.
There's no specific
TT.
that I know of. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a design department on the company or just engineers?
Yeah, so there's a designer who will take your feedback and then he'll put it into a 3D drawing itself, right? And then he sends it back and you communicate with them. Or like for my specific bike, I wanted the blend between the matte and the glossy finish to come in at a certain angle and then fade at, I can't really tell you whether it's 30% or 60%, right? But I wanted lesser of certain portion, and then we discuss from there, and then they send back and forth. Oh, are you happy with this? And until you're happy with the whole thing, and then they do the paint job after. That's the last part of the deal.
I always have this issue with matte frames, and I try to shy away from matte frames. Is because my bike, the one that I just recently bought, is a matte. It looks like yours, like a matte finish at the bottom, and then like a gloss on top. When I go for rides which are super sandy TMCR, mud and stuff just kind of sticks to the matte paint. Do you get that issue, and how do you clean it?
So I have to wash my bike after every single ride, which is cognizant. And I was just talking to somebody just now, and they're like, after you ride, and then you put the bike aside, and then you have your breakfast, then you're too lazy to wash it, it gets stuck on, right? So one thing I form as a habit is washing the bike right after riding.
I do that, but it's hard to get the stains off a matte paint. For me anyway, I'm not sure if that happens to you. So I had to use, I posted this on my Instagram and like asking people for help. How do you guys clean it? They recommended some kind of bike specific cleaner. Yeah, you spray, it's like a foam, and then you wipe it down and it kind of gets the mark off.
So I do use some bike cleaners as well while I'm washing the bike. So I guess that helped, but I can't remember. I got it from the bike settlement. Yeah. Okay.
I just remember the question I was asking. I asked you earlier. Was the saddle to bar drop? I asked why is there not much saddle to bar drop for a custom frame. So for road bikes anyway, you're gonna get a custom bike. You're gonna get a very slam the stem. Don't have much spaces. But for a TT bike, wouldn't you be more aero if you have a more bigger drop?
I guess so. But there is this really funky dot if you look at the bike here, just over the logo.
Yeah.
So you could actually adjust the seat post and such. So I don't know, because at the end of the day, as I showed you all the other pictures, right? There isn't that what you're calling that little drop thing. It's all, I guess, down to the way the company is wanting to go towards.
Right. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay.
Anything you would like to shout out to your fans? You have fans or not?
I'm not sure. Let's be very honest.
You got 3 cameras here. If you got anything to say to them?
Oh no! Everybody ride safe, race safe. That's all. That's all we can ask for. Right? Stay healthy.
I got one more IG. So it wasn't a question, but a statement which I thought was quite funny. He says, "It looks cuckoo."
I mean, if you're gonna do a triathlon, so I always have this joke: if you're gonna suck at one sport, why not suck at 3 at one go, right? So you gotta be a bit crazy to do. Yeah. So why not?
You're not playing football anymore.
Actually, I stopped playing football for quite some time already. So I still love the game, but unfortunately,
cycling and everything.
Yeah, it takes up too much time.
Yeah, cleaning the bike.
Yes.
All right, Tim, thanks so much for coming over.
Thank you for having me.
We'll go and film your bike, and that's a wrap, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.